Alright guys, so now it's the moment of truth. Everything is plugged in. Receiver, everything is okay. So let's go ahead and stick the battery in. Alright guys, so let's begin building this beast. And we're going to be using some of the best cheap components that I've come across, and I truly know it's good because it's been very reliable, and I've actually purchased more of them because I love them so much and they're just awesome for cheap little builds. Now let's go ahead and talk about the parts we're going to be using. We're going to be using the Martian Anniversary Edition. This is not the 220mm, this is the 215mm. You could choose the other one also, but I chose this because it's pretty light. It's around 130 grams. And its parts are very much available everywhere. Also, it's very good for newbies because if you break an arm, you could easily repair it, and it's pretty cheap. So that's also a big plus since it's going to be your first quad. That's going to be a good flyer because it's a top mount battery, and they do perform a bit differently than bottom mount batteries. So that's what we're going to be using for frame. For flight controller ESC PDB, we're going to be using the Star F3s. I really do love this. And it does have a little bit of noise, but it's easily fixable with a low ESR capacitor and a voltage regulator. And I'll show you how to set one of these up, or I'll just leave a link down in the description below to a video where I have set this up before. So this is a salvaged piece right now. And basically everything here except the motors and the frame was salvaged from another quad, just because I really want to build this one the way it is like this. This is going to be pretty insane, I believe. So we're going to be using the Foxeer Clone, and this one's a very good camera. I've never had any issues with it, and this is basically all I run, unless I find another good camera that's on sale for 20 bucks. This is a 20 bucks camera here, so it's very good in my opinion. I really do like this, and I really do recommend it because when nothing's on sale, this is what I usually grab, and I have like plenty. I have maybe over 10 of these on my quad, so these are very good, and they're very cheap. Motors, I'm going to be using the Racerstar 2306 2700 kV. However, I recommend the 2400 kV, but this is going to be the test of the 2700 kVs as well. So we'll know once we fly it how good these are, and I'll let you know. And yeah, well, that's all it is for parts. So let me take this apart real quick, and let's set everything up and let's get started. Oh yeah, and for VTX, I forgot to mention, we're going to be using the Eachine TX526. This is a very good, very cheap VTX that I always use because I know it's not going to make me any issues. It's not going to give me any problems. So I really do love this, and I really do highly recommend this one. I've never had an issue with it. So I have plenty. Almost all my builds have these on the sale, and I'll try and do VTX just for the channel. So yeah, let's prepare everything. I'm going to stick the flight controller into place here, and we get started. Alright guys, so let's take a look at what I have here done now. Now we have the flight controller in place, and I've put some rubber O-rings to add some dampening here. Now, as you can see, the arrow is pointing forward because we have the two slits. This is where the camera is going to go with the camera mounts. Now, there's one issue with this board, which is the USBs in the front. However, here we should have enough room to slip it through or get some kind of adapter. But we should be good in that perspective here. Now, for powering up the VTX, if we took power straight from the battery, we're going to see some noise, which is lining the feed. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this voltage regulator right here. And this is a Maytech voltage regulator, which is rated either 5 volt or 12 volt. And the way you make this produce 12 volts is if you actually just bridge these two pads. There's two pads here, as you can see I have them bridged. So if you bridge these two pads right there, then it becomes 12 volts. And as you can see, the in is coming from the battery, and the out is going to be going to the VTX right here. So you want to take the black and red wire, and the yellow wire from the VTX is what's going to be going to your flight controller here, which is the video out, and we'll get into that in a moment. And as you can see, VO, which means video out. VN is where the camera would go in, pop through the OSD, which is this guy right here, and pop out to the video out, which is the VTX, and it goes down to your goggles. So this is how this is set and done here. Pretty simple, straightforward. And the capacitor, you just stick them right there. The Xt60, I'm going to have it sticking up from the side right here. We're going to zip tie it to the top because this is the safest route, so you don't cut your wires you don't cut your battery wires here, and yeah, I find it to be the best with these kinds of frames. Alright, so this build should actually be very fast, except one issue that we're going to have is the problem with these motors is the motor wires are very short. So they're just not long enough, just by a little bit not long enough. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to extend these wires. And this part is a little bit of time consuming. So we're going to do one motor together now. And then I'm going to skip over the other motors, and then we just start sticking them on and then plug everything in. We should be good to go. So let me prepare everything for that, and let's get started. Alright, so I've gone ahead and prepared some wire. These are silicone, are on the same gauge. I do keep any spares, so I do highly recommend you purchase some extra silicone wire. This is how many gauge real quick. Let me just double check that. 16 or 18. 18 gauge silicone wire. Those will always come in handy. However, I have spares here from the previous build, which I've cut the motor wires from, and it should be good. Now, there's something also to take very important note of, is because we only need just such a tiny amount of wire to extend, and you might tell you to, your brain might tell you to actually just add those little wires, and you should be good to go. It shouldn't be that hard, but actually that's a very bad mistake, because if you only add this much, and when you go to solder this, the heat's going to travel very quickly and desolder itself, or just give you a very bad joint, which could cause issues, possibly burn up a motor. It could do a lot of damage. So what we actually want to do now is we want to cut the motor wire a little bit, so we can actually do that. So I don't know, it's up to you, but I'm going to go around halfway. Right here should be good, I believe. So I'm going to cut these up to right there. And then we're going to use a bit longer wires here, and that should be just totally fine. So let me get that started with, or let's just do it together actually, which is better. Alright, so we're going to want to go around maybe halfway, I think is good. So about right here. And there's no going back now. So cut these. I'm going to move these to the side because these are shorter. And let's prepare this one. So it's 18 gauge, so let's go ahead and do 18 gauge, which is right there. Want them kind of long here. There's many techniques to do this, and just do what you feel best is for you. So I'm not going to go ahead and twist them just yet. Let's move this guy here. Alright, so I've gone ahead and prepared it to where everyone can see everything, which is better, like so. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab our first wire, and we need 18 gauge. So there we go. And what I like to do is I like to just put them in together like so, and then just start twisting the wire. I find it to work best. And there's many ways to doing this, so I mean, it's up to you how you prefer to do it. There's a lot of techniques out there, but personally I like this technique the most. It's time consuming, but it'll do the job just perfect. Alright, and now we just come in. It's always good to have helping hands. You could do it without, but it's going to be a pain. There we go. We got our first wire. Let's go ahead and check the length now, just in case, because maybe we probably cut too much off from the beginning. Oh no, it's perfect. So that's perfect right there. Alright, so this one is done, and as you can see, it's perfect. Alright, so well, you know what, I'm actually going to skip the rest because this is just going to be time consuming, and it's going to be the same process. So I'll skip over the rest, and once I'm done, I'll come back and then we'll start soldering everything to the flight controller. Alright guys, so the motors are done. As you can see here, I kind of ran out of black heat shrink here. So what I'm going to do is I've gotten some black heat shrinks, about this big. They're gonna be totally fine. And what we can do is we could cover the Christmas colors here. I mean, just see it. I mean, what we're gonna do is, what I'm actually gonna do here is I'm just gonna set it up to basically like right there for the heat shrink to be just to that area. And then we're gonna shrink it and then start soldering. As you can see now, we have enough clearance so the heat doesn't quickly travel and then desolders this. I've had that happen before, and that's why I did it this way this time. I know it's, you know, the first time I ever did it, it was just like telling me, no, don't cut it. Why make more work for yourself? But you know, just after time, you just know, don't go lazy or cheap. You can go cheap. I mean, don't go cheap, but like, yeah. I don't know what I was saying. I just lost what I was saying. But anyways, we're gonna put this heat shrink. It's gonna be awesome. All right, let's just see. I think about here is gonna be good, right there. All right. So we'll do this. We'll do one motor together. And it's gonna be the same thing for all the other motors. So just cut time as much as possible. This way we could hide the Christmas colored heat shrinks. Alright, sorry about that, the camera died, so we just fit it in and just make sure it's nice and straight inside, because when you heat shrink it, it won't look all retarded. Like you'll have one, it'll get annoying every time you see it. It'll just piss you off. I mean, it pisses me off if I see that, so that's why I try not to do it. So we're just gonna solder them direct, straight flush connections, and then worry about the orientation in Betaflight. I think BL Heli has gotten a lot more stable nowadays, and there's no desyncs from reversing motors anymore. So we're just gonna re-tin up these pads because it's been a while, and we're just gonna make them nice and shiny again here. There we go, so everyone can see everything. Alright, so that's all said and done. Let's go ahead and shrink the heat shrink here. Okay, make sure it's all flat. So everything's flat here. And I'm just gonna get this guy. Alright, and while it's still hot, I like to just make sure I flatten this guy out without burning my fingers. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and do one motor together. I'm going to keep a little extra slack here. It never hurts. Just not too much. Not that it'll affect anything, but it'll just keep it nice and clean. That's what we want to go for. Alright, so I'm just checking it right now. So I think like this would look pretty nice. It'll look nice because it'll soak up some of the solder. So I'm going to go ahead and just slice all these at once. There we go. Should be a pretty nice, fun little build, this one. I have high hopes for this because I know how most of the components perform on this. And especially that this frame's a bit lighter. It's what attracted me. So it's going to be pretty good. Alright, so let's go ahead and solder up these. Add some tin on these wires, and then we put them on the flight controller. And I go ahead and I skip the rest, and then we come back, see what's the next step. And you know, these are the type of boards that I freaking love. I mean, you know, it's a love-hate relationship. Let's put it that way. If something goes bad on the board, you're going to have to replace the whole board. But, you know, it's so easy to set up. And if something does go bad, I mean, this board's only $50. So you're getting ESC's flight controller, OSD, PDB. What else are we getting? That's it. For only 50 bucks. So it's a huge plus. I really do like this. And you know, some people hate this stuff, and I am just really falling in love with these. They do have their little, like, this one's was one of the noisiest racer stars that come like this, but it's nothing like bad. Like, I can tell you something that costs way more money than this, and is a piece of crap, which is yeah, I'm sorry to say this. Well, at least for me, it was the Airbot Omnibus with the Typhoon Airbot Typhoon ESCs. Those, I was very upset, actually, very upset with them. Oh, by the way, what I'm using here are hemostats. They just lock into place, and I just hold it, and I should be good to go here. So what you want to do is just add pressure, and then just go ahead with it until you hear that beautiful crunching sound. It's absolutely beautiful. And this guy is way too far. This guy is taking way too much space. Maybe I should concentrate on what I'm soldering instead of just speaking. So let's go ahead and push this guy. Okay. So I'm gonna keep the wire back here. And that moved. Okay. Now we're gonna take this wire. What we want to do is we want to have them come in sideways like so. Alright. Now we grab this guy. And that's perfect. Yep, nothing jumped. Alright, so then we can go ahead and just fix this wires up. Obviously they're not going to be perfect because the solder gets soaked in and it makes them hard. However, they're holding up very well, and I'm very satisfied with this. It's pretty nice. Could be better, but it's good enough right now. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the motors, and I'll be back and we'll see what's the next step. Alright guys, so we are complete with the motor wires, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start connecting our wires for our camera, VTX, just the video line for the VTX, because we already took power from right here, as you can see, into the voltage regulator. So we're just going to need video out, which would be the yellow. We're going to leave that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and start with ground, and I'm going to ground the camera from here. So we're going to get the camera wire here, and we're just going to take the black wire and ground it. So let's see how we're going to do this. And you have to be very careful here because components are very close to each other. And you just got to be very, very careful and sensitive. So there we go. That's ground right there. Alright, that's beautiful. So this is the ground for our camera. Okay, so don't mix that up. And now if we take the yellow wire for our VTX. This is our VTX connector. We're going to put it on VO, which means V out. Okay, and that's in. Video in is going to be the yellow wire from our camera. So let's move this guy to the side. So VI is video in. Okay, and that's in. And 5 volt, which is to power up our camera. And that's in also. So that's just beautiful. Now we have our receiver. Now this is so cool because this is an F3 flight controller and it doesn't have an issue with the inverting and non-inverting. On F4 flight controllers, if you try to put iBus on S-Bus, it won't work. You need an RX pad or port. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our This is for our receiver here. This is our receiver wire now. And we're going to set it up to 5-volt S-bus and ground right there. So S-bus is going to be, so let's start with 5-volt is first on our list right there. So let's go ahead and set that up. Okay. And we accidentally hit that, but we fixed it. Now S-bus is going to be our yellow wire, which will be I-bus because we're using FlySky. So, okay. And now we're going to need ground. So let's just ground this guy like a so. Very ugly ground, but we should be able to fix that while looking on the camera. There we go. That's it. And are we complete? Yeah, we're done here. Wow. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's why I love these boards. But like I said, be super careful not to burn anything. So that's something you have to take note of. So here, we're going to add a heat shrink on this guy. And we are going to get our stuff and test if everything is working. So let's go ahead and plug a battery, see if something catches on fire before we go any further. Alright, we should hear the motors initialize and hopefully not fire. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Alright, so now we're going to make sure the VTX powers on with this voltage regulator, just to make sure the voltage regulator is working here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick the VTX, and whatever you do, do not forget to put an antenna. Alright, so now we have everything ready, so let's just try to move this. I don't want the voltage regulator to touch anything and short circuit and something to get damaged here. So, okay, the VTX powers up perfect. Beautiful. Alright, so that's a good first step. So now we can grab a heat shrink and we can just shrink around this guy here. That's what we're going to do now, actually. I think we're done soldering, so I'm going to try the solder station here. Make sure you tin and clean the tip before you turn it off, or right when you turn it off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little heat shrink on the voltage regulator so we don't risk it getting short-circuited anywhere. We're going to fix this so nothing pulls it because these are crappy wires. So the only downside to this VTX is they give you some shitty ass wires. Alright, so let's get our heat gun going and let's just shrink this guy so we don't have to keep worrying about him too much. Alright, beautiful. Don't want to touch this, it's super hot. Alright. So like this, we're done with the VTX. We'll find a place to mount the VTX. And now we're gonna need to bring our camera in and see if the OSD is working as well as the camera. So let's go ahead and grab, here we go. So I have this double-sided tape to the back of the camera, and whenever I can do that, I usually tend to do that. I like it this way, it's better. So this is the signal here, okay, and this is for the camera. All right, so that's just beautiful. All right, so now what are we gonna do? Now let's get a screen here and then to see if everything's working. All right guys, so now it's the moment of truth. Everything is plugged in, receiver, everything is okay. So let's go ahead and stick the battery in. And that's perfect. I always have this on A2 and I always set my things to A2. So that's beautiful. So that's very, very good. I'm very pleased and happy with this whole setup. So now let's go ahead and jump into Betaflight and see if we got everything correct. And start. Alright guys, before we go ahead and connect to Betaflight, what I like to do is have the quad face away from me, and so I know its orientation. So let me show you how I do it before you even turn it on. So have it facing away from you, and then plug in the USB. Okay, have it connect. Now we see COM port 19. Let's click OK. Perfect. Now what I like to do is, since this is the front, let's lift up the front. And you see the arrow, that's perfect. So if we move to the right, the quad's moving right, move to the left, quad's moving to the left. So now we know the orientation is absolutely perfect, so we have nothing to do here. So now let's go ahead and go to ports. Now I think I've already checked this, and S-Bus was on UART3, so you would enable serial RX, and we go to configuration, and I'm using iBus, so it would be serial based receiver iBus. If you're using S-Bus, you would choose S-Bus. So we're using iBus here, and 8K, 2K, that's fine. 8K might be too much. 4K, 2K. D-Shot 600, we don't need any of these. Quad X, correct. Craft name, we'll call it budget. This will show up on the OSD. Okay, nothing here. LED strip, nope. Black box, nope. SD card, nope. OSD, yes. Air mode, and what else? Telemetry soft serial. I think that's it for now. So that's very good. It's good here so far. Now let's just go ahead and save and reboot. Alright, so everything seems to be set pretty nice. Okay, my rates are still on there. Good. Right, so we're gonna double check this stuff here in a bit. And angle, yeah, okay. Alright, so the motors, now we're gonna check the motor, see if it's spinning correctly. And what I do is I go by this picture right here, and as you can see, motor 1, and it's in the correct orientation here. So let's go ahead and apply power now. Alright, make sure nothing's touching the motors, it's very important. And let's go ahead and begin. Make sure you have no propellers on. Alright, so this one is spinning correctly. So motor 1 is correct. Motor 2 is also correct. Motor 3 is wrong. And I believe motor 4 is wrong also, and motor 4. So motor 3 and 4 need to be reversed here. So, alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and disconnect flight so we can log in through the BL Heli software. Make sure we select the correct COM port, and we said motors 3 and 4 need to be reversed. Now, when you connect through BL Heli, there needs to be power to the quad for it to work. And now we go to read setup down the bottom right. Alright, so we see motors 3 and 4. We need to reverse them. See, they're already reversed, so we're going to have to set it to normal. So these would be normal, and we would say right setup. And it'll go ahead and right setup to all of them. Now, let's just say we wanted to enable D-Shot commands, you know, like turtle mode and all that kind of crazy stuff. What you'd want to do is you want to go to flash all, and don't change this first one, we'd change this one, where it says, well, I guess it's on 16.6, they say D-Shot commands, I guess they've changed it. So I believe this would be at like 16.7 official. However, I know it's working perfect like this, so I'm not going to update the ESC firmware here. So that's it. We have a working quad. Alright guys, so he is complete. And it's absolutely drop dead stunningly clean. Let me show you what I mean. Look at that, just one board, that's it. VTX is all the way up here, stuck with this crazy ass double side tape that I use. I don't know what the hell it's called, but it loves the heat shrink around this kind of VTX and the carbon. Sticks there like no other. Look at that. That's just insane. Usually the SMA port breaks before the tape actually goes away. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. We have the receiver all the way in the back there behind the camera. So let's see how we can do this guy. Right there, see him? All the way there. He's stuck to the camera with double-sided tape. We have obviously the camera. And we have this GoPro mount here, which I love. It's TPU again from Banggood. I never fly without these because they protect my frame and my GoPro. And here we have a little, you know, like it's an antenna, but I was trying to say something else, but I just can't think of another word. But yeah, here's my antenna. That's where I have right here with some zip ties and a heat shrink around it. And yeah, overall it's pretty clean. This ain't gonna go nowhere, so this is gonna be good here. And let me show you why. Because I don't know, and some of you probably have noticed, and I'm gonna get a lot of shit about this. I put two the counterclockwise and two the clockwise on their own. I wasn't paying attention. I was just sticking them in, and then I saw it too late, and I was like, forget it. It doesn't really matter. So you see why you want to have that there. The propellers can't touch those wires no matter what. No matter what I do, the propellers can't. Even if the battery's pushing down on this guy, it's not going to cut the wire. However, if you have it back here, you think it's smart, but actually it's not, because the battery wire will tend to drop here, and look at the amount of clear. You have no clearance here. So that's something to take note of. So this is, I believe this is the best setup currently. And yeah, well, I'll be taking it out tomorrow. Everything's working. And we went through the Betaflight together. And tomorrow will be the official test and see how it goes. So I really have high hopes for this guy. I don't see why he would disappoint. And yeah, so stay tuned, and we'll go ahead and check out the flight footage on the next episode and see how it all goes. So yeah, that's good. So this is all a total of 143 bucks right here. Isn't that crazy? It's like a Mr. Steely budget build. Although people are gonna hate me for saying that, but yeah, that's what it really is, to be honest. You got like a little alien frame, some kind of Kiss all-in-one with everything, and some Mr. Steely motors here, but they're red and they're from China. Everything's from China, but and the run cam rotor right Swift, which is like 20 bucks here. I mean, this is a quad, and it's a $143 quad, and tomorrow we'll see how well it performs. I have high hopes for this guy. And well, that's gonna conclude it for this video, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to let me know, and we'll see you next time. See you guys. Take care.